Time of death opens with Nolan and Bishop in pursuit of a suspect through an office building. When they finally catch him, they all end up trapped in an escape room and must work together to solve the puzzle. During training, Nolan and Chen practice takedowns and grow closer, while the captain suggests Bishop should consider taking the detective's exam. Bishop discusses the suggestion with Lopez and Bradford just before they notice Isabel being brought back to the station. She's taken a deal and plans to work as an informant, even though Bradford knows that puts her at serious risk. Later, Nolan and Bishop respond to a silent alarm at a convenience store where the owner is holding two suspects at gunpoint. Bishop quickly handles her suspect, while Nolan chases the other down the street and into a nearby house. Nolan orders him to drop his weapon, but when the suspect makes a move to fire, Nolan shoots first, killing him. Since it's a fatal shooting, Bishop secures the scene and treats Nolan as a potential suspect. He's questioned by Gray, then by the captain, who asks which officer he wants to guide him through the investigation. Gray walks him through the process and advises him to prepare a written statement with his lawyer. Lopez and West head out on patrol and come across a woman high on drugs, riding a kiddie ride, when a severed foot suddenly falls from. As they bring her back to the station, they see all the suspects being escorted out due to the earlier shooting. Chen, West, and the training officers are called in to give statements about Nolan's character and whether he's been dealing with any personal issues, which visibly unsettles Chen. Meanwhile, Bishop isn't ready to go home and gets assigned to a major case with some detectives to start gaining experience. Nolan is asked to call his ex-wife, Sarah, and reassure her that he's okay before the news hits the media. He's then taken into a room filled with union reps, attorneys, and civil service officials, including the head of internal affairs, who also happens to be West's father. Nolan is clearly struggling, showing signs of dissociation, but still has to face tough questions about the shooting. Lopez, Chen, and West talk about the situation and reflect on how Lopez once had a similar experience with a former recruit. Before Nolan leaves, Chen approaches him and asks if he needs anything, but he's quickly escorted out by Gray and taken home. On the way, Gray asks why Nolan chose him as his companion officer. Nolan replies that he knew Gray wouldn't sugarcoat whether he made the right decision. Gray reassures him, saying he would have made the same call. At the same time, Bishop gets pulled into a detective case, which turns out to be tied to Isabel. She and the detective pull over Isabel's drug-addicted boyfriend and bring him in, hoping Isabel can convince him to let her take his place at a drug drop. Later, over lunch, Bishop updates Bradford about the operation and reveals that Isabel will be wearing a wire. He's furious and immediately takes it to the captain. She calmly tells him that this is how it's going to happen, and though clearly upset, Bradford walks away, accepting. During the bust, Lopez checks in on Bradford to make sure he's holding it together and won't do anything reckless. Meanwhile, Isabel arrives at the motel and manages to convince the supplier to bring her an extra kilo to move. But as the operation drags on, Bradford grows increasingly anxious. Things take a turn when the supplier gets suspicious, grabs Isabel, and cuts off her video feed. The teams rush to the motel, but by the time they get there, both Isabel and the suppliers are gone. The next day, Nolan approaches the captain and asks to review his body cam footage. She warns him against it and shares a similar experience from her own past, but Nolan insists. As they watch the footage, Nolan wonders if there was a way to de-escalate the situation, but the captain assures him he followed procedure. Before he leaves, she informs him that the robber's brother is accusing Nolan of killing him in cold blood, but the department stands behind him. Later, Chen finds Nolan and offers to be his emotional support. He's not sure if he can keep doing this job. As he starts to walk away, Chen gently asks him to come with her. West reaches out to his father for updates on the investigation and asks him to go to dinner, but his mom still refuses to speak to him. Meanwhile, Chen takes Nolan back to the house, where the incident happened to show him the family he saved. Later, she brings him home, and they share a long, comforting hug that gradually turns into something more. Nolan says he doesn't believe a moment together was a mistake, but as he heads to the kitchen to make food, he notices the front door is slightly open. Suspicious, he turns back into the house, only to be struck with a baseball bat and dragged down the hallway by the robber's angry brother. As Chen steps out of the shower and moves toward the noise, a flash from a gunshot lights up the room. Overall, this was a standout episode. The twist in the storyline came out of nowhere, and the way it unfolded felt raw and authentic. Nolan's dissociation and signs of PTSD were portrayed with real depth, highlighting the emotional toll this job can take. While the rest of the characters played more supporting roles this time, it made sense, given the gravity of the main plot. The real question now is how this will impact Nolan.